Marchong is a spokesperson for the TaxPayers Alliance, and we're asking the question about universities who are doubling investment in diversity staff. That's happened over the past 3 years. But just before we get into that with Joanna, maybe we can talk about some of the money that's going overseas, not just to Ukraine, but specifically on a lot of these projects that have come to light, including Kenyan gender lectures as well. We've also heard lots of different bits of information. We know this £15 billion a year overseas aid has been paid, squandered, many would argue, on shrimp farms in Bangladesh, poetry workshops in Colombian jails. I would imagine there are quite a few pensioners saying, well, I mean, I'm all for poetry workshops in Colombian jails, but I quite like my winter fuel allowance. What do you think, Joanna?
Yes, I think you're somewhat completely correct on the fact that foreign aid is being used for kind of silly projects, and we all see the kind of headline grants that have been given out. However, I will say that foreign aid, there's a level that has been committed, and we say that we will give it abroad, and that is completely fine. However, we need to just make sure that every single project that we invest in is actually worthwhile and will be fruitful in the end.
Yeah, that's a very good point, because some of them, many people would argue, actually aren't that fruitful and aren't helping us here at home either. I just wonder, within the thoughts of foreign aid, and certainly the $3 billion that we're sending to Ukraine, perhaps peacekeeping troops as well, I mean, that could be a huge amount of public money that is being spent, and many taxpayers will say, am I getting value for money here? Is this something that I actually, as a taxpayer, support?
Yeah, you will always have those questions. I think right now, considering that Britain is in a situation in what it is, especially when we have people at home kind of worrying about tax rises and problems with not being able to get a job, etc. We've just entered a personal recession. All those things mean that a lot of people will be more upset when hearing about any kind of money going to people that aren't British or abroad in any way.
Let's talk about this university story. This is Oxford University has spent £2.5 million developing EDI, this is Equity, Diversity and Inclusion teams, which critics say are useless amid a higher education funding crisis. And the overall cost has doubled in 3 years, now costing the sector £28 million a year, according to new research. An awful lot of people. Oxford University is 59, now it's a big university, but it's not the biggest, but it has 59 people at a cost of £2.5 million, and the Taxpayers Alliance has found that it's gone up to an average of £168,000 per institution. Tell us about this research, Joanna.
Yeah, so essentially, if you look at over the last 3 financial years, you'll see that EDI spending has drastically increased, and also it's come to a total over the last 3 years of about £45 million. And this story, along with many others that the TPA have done, highlight a bigger problem within the public sector. One, you have councils spending about £52 million, you have NHS spending about 13 million and police forces spending about 11 million. So when you think about the whole picture of it, you see a spending of almost 120 million pounds going towards these roles, which have been proven to be ineffective and counterproductive.
And something that a lot of people are very annoyed about as well, because it is a stark increase here. Why do you think this increase is happening, Joanna?
Well, it's gone along with the trend of virtue signalling. We feel like we have to have something on paper to say, oh, well, we are trying to be inclusive, rather than actually doing the work to be that way. Also, it's one of those things that it's just a box-ticking episode where you can say you're trying to do something again, but not really doing anything. And somehow it's just seemed to have stuck with governments. The previous one tried to get rid of them, although they didn't really follow through on it. I thought their initiative was to stop the hiring of them and turn them into general HR managers would be fruitful. But however, it's just not really worked out that way, and somehow it has really stuck, and we have to make sure that people know they are costly and ineffective over and over again.
Joanna, thanks for your thoughts there. Joanna Marchong there from the Taxpayers Alliance, where she